with the Minbari, and I think that's kind of brought out in here with the well, what was his name? Kalain.
Kalain's the warrior cast guy.
Yeah, with the warrior cast and the religious cast, being at odds, and now we're starting to see some cracks in that veneer.
you're starting to. It's not just between the casts either. It's the Grey Council versus everyone else too.
Right.
Where it's like, they're kind of distant. They're a distant leadership body that doesn't seem to connect well with everyone else.
There's also a contrast, I should say, between the Triganti, how the Triganti is viewed by the Minbari, and in the first season, that general that got paraded around after he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Minbari hold this guy up in high esteem, and we're going to take him around, and we're going to do funeral march for a marionette all the way around the galaxy.
Right.
And the Triganti, which is supposedly this, great warship, the captain dies and they go into exile.
You have expecting them to say Qapla' today as he dated time.
Yeah, well, and when the other Minbari warship shows up to deal with Triganti,
even
there's not the same kind of emotion, relationship, regard for that ship and crew that they would have for the others. So you start to, it kind of goes a little bit more toward, the various different cracks in the Minbari factions too.
Right.
That maybe there's, a little trouble in paradise.
Well, but they do mention that they considered them heroes, though, or at least
the
captains.
Right, because even though they, I guess you could say committed seppuku or something like that.
Yeah, but we're only getting it from the point of view of another from their casts. We're not getting from what the
was that from their cast, or was that from?
That's the other ship was military. It was
warrior cast.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. But even the religious cast fellow was, and I didn't catch his name. The one that got
run.
He got accosted by Kalain early on.
Remember, they've been hinting this on since the pilot movie. If you remember the pilot movie and who the assassin was, and basically it's the point that it's warrior cast, and he was trying to kill Kosh.
I see the Minbari as having a sort of a Japanese sense of honor. So even though they're sent, that one, the cruiser has orders to
stop
take them.
Yeah.
And they have to follow their orders, but they still respect what they've done, which
they mourn the dead.
Refuse to surrender, but they can't carry on the war. But
and that
wrong, so they're going to do
death.
Yeah, well, and right, which is exactly what that was the message they sent.
The 47 Ronin kind of.
Yeah.
Well,
and their outfits are reminiscent of samurai armor a little bit too.
Yeah.
The warrior cast, I mean. True. Well, actually, all the Minbari are. The other robes that the religious cast wear are kind of kimono like.
Yeah, they've got a bit of that. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about kind of wrap up that story? The whole Minbari attack storyline here, because I mean, you mentioned it that they. The Triganti does show up and tries to instigate an attack, and Sheridan. This might be a little too competent. That he's able to
see through it, see through the plan.
But I guess they do backfill it enough because it's like we know that we can't. We know that they're cloaked essentially, or, some kind of stealth technology. And he picked up on that because he has experience with it. Right.
Yeah. So it's a lot of experience.
And they were trying to provoke conflict. They wanted to restart the war.
Right.
Or die trying to restart the war.
I thought, Cam, that it was actually well done. It wasn't overly, because he's suspicious right off the bat. He's like, Kalain could have killed them all. Why didn't he kill him? What's up? there's something's a little fishy right off the bat.
Yeah, I think it was written sufficiently. It was credible. It's just I'm just saying that they laid it on slightly thick with Sheridan's competence. I like it, don't get me wrong, but it was like he did really well, right? I mean, he came out of the box with an A, right? For his first appearance, he wasn't bumbling at all. Right? That okay, and I'm fine with it, right? But there was a lot, and then you also, I mean, he did have some inside information, because then it was not only that, but also the thing with the sending the message into hyperspace, and him kind of anticipating that the other Minbari ship was there. So there's a lot that he really hit it out of the park with. But I did also, and I'm sorry I've been too much here, but I did also like that the crew kind of like did question him a little bit when he told them to stand, the fighters to stand down. They're like, what are you talking about? It's like, because they don't know this guy, right? I mean, he's new to them.
I think they were looking to Ivanova.
Yeah, right.
To be like, is he okay?
Right, and they they did do it. It's like, he's the commander. Okay, we're doing it, right? So I think it all worked out nicely, but I kind of like that they were a little stunned by that. They weren't just robots, immediately trusting.
I think any in a situation like that, any military officer they're gonna ask. I mean, them asking for confirmation is their way of saying, what the F? These guys we're about to die. Why don't you let us shoot back at them, sort of thing. So that's kind of the the military way of doing that. Yeah, but I thought that was very that is kind of somewhat normal. And the fact that he's brand new too is going to make they haven't learned to trust him yet, right? So they're going to be a little more. Are you sure, man?
Although I don't know about
what you're doing. You just showed up here, and these guys are trying to kill us.
What did Susan say? I surrender the Babylon 5 to you, which I don't. Yeah, that's not the exact phrase that they use, is it? When they change commands,
relinquish command.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually official ceremony and everything when they do that.
Well, they got caught with their pants down there a little bit because he came early.
Yeah, he was.
That's true. That's true.
Well, the other thing too was Sheridan. He's great tactician, starship commander, the only one that won a battle, and so they do a lot to build him up. Right. But I also think that they offset that. Straczynski offsets that with the oranges and the shower and the speech.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little
the little things.
It's stuff that these add layers to him, but they also add They humanize him, so he's not just a two-dimensional character coming in to plug a hole.
Yeah, and I think, my opinion is, Sheridan in one episode gained more depth than Sinclair did in a season.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would agree as well. Now, that said, there was a lot of time given to him in that episode to do that. And it was well used and everything, but yeah.
I mean, and this is strong writing on Straczynski's part, right? It's like he knew it's like he had ground to make up because of, Sinclair going away, and he did it. He pulled it off.